Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 253 of the Canadian Football Countdown, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network and the Alternative Football Network. CFL season is officially here. 2024 season begins this week. Regular season content here on the podcast begins this week. Welcome, one and all, to our Week 1 CFL preview. We'll take you through the major storylines, the fantasy players to watch, and some betting picks for each of the 4 games for this week. Here tonight, I'm Ryan, joined by Adam and Trey, here to take you through the Week 1 preview. Let's bring them in here. First, Adam, green is the color, and it's a bit of a different shade of green now, isn't it? You're sporting the new Riders jersey there, the obsidian green jersey, I believe they're calling it. How you doing tonight? And what are your thoughts on this new jersey? Clearly, you like it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It just came in here while I was introduced on Thursday and Friday. And they were just great looking. It's just black enough that the black guys that wanted black jerseys since 06 or 07 finally get their black-ish kind of jersey. This thing is green. Don't let the camera fool you. It is a green jersey, very dark green. Almost, a certain too green of a certain other team in the CFL. But you know what? With the extra bit of green on it, it looks good. It's going to be probably a fan favorite for a little while. I don't know if it'll ever take over the popularity of the old classic retro jersey, but you know what? I kind of like it. It looks pretty good. I like a little bit of extra coloring. I'll be honest, I'm not really a big fan of the new logo. But other than that, it's actually a pretty nice jersey. But I'm doing good. I mean, I'm not cheering for any team in this week, but I'll go from there. Trey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to finally have a sport to bet on that's better than hockey and basketball and curling and stuff. So that's what I'm looking forward to this week. Some crazy lines that I'm hoping that we can all capitalize on and or lose our ant farms too. So we'll see.
You weren't.
I like those jerseys. I like those jerseys a heck of a lot better than those Blue Jay ones. That's for sure. So Ottawa got some new ones too, didn't they? No, they have red ends.
They did today, and I think Edmonton's unveiling some new ones here shortly as well. So everybody's kind of having a redo here.
All I want is the gold again, like straight gold for the Bombers. Like when they had that was great. Or when we had gold for away that one year. Oh, that was nice.
Those gold ones, the only thing I remember great about them was 07. They were good that year.
As long as they don't bring back those blue camo jerseys, those ones are terrible.
Also, they can't bring back those green watermelon jerseys they had for Saskatchewan. Those were rough.
Oh, that whole year, I remember that whole thing when every team got a third jersey, and that was just awful. I can't remember one that was good.
No, honestly.
Meanwhile, the Stamps jerseys still look a little bit like a popcorn bucket to me, with the red and the white.
Actually, Trey, when you're saying that, those gray Hamilton jerseys were nice.
Yes, okay. Was that from that? Okay.
Yeah, that was that same year. So those gray Hamilton jerseys that said the hammer on them, they've kind
of brought that back, haven't they?
I think
they kind of keep it.
Yeah. Well.
But
you say you're happy to have a sport back that's fun to bet on. Meanwhile, it's the most volatile sports or the football league there is, with all the lead changes in the final couple minutes. But we'll see how we'll do this year. We'll make our betting picks for each game throughout the year. Here we'll do. We're for sure going to do picks against the spread, the over/under. Maybe we'll throw some player props in and out throughout there as well if we can find them. For fantasy content this year here on the podcast, we'll give you a handful of fantasy players to watch, spread out across the game, spread out across the different positions there as well. I'm also planning this year to add a little bit more fantasy insight on social media, be a little more active on our show account there. So make sure you follow us on social media at CF Countdown Pod on X and on Facebook. We'll have additional players to watch, maybe value picks of the week, more news as the depth chart come out throughout the week. And then as well, check out for all of these things, the Discord community. I'll mention that again here at the start of the season. There is a link in the episode description. It's free to join. And we have the CFL Fantasy channel, CFL Betting channel, where the odds are thrown out there and discussions on those. If you're new to tuning in for our content, I have a lot of charts for fantasy that I use to put into my players to watch there. I'm still working on polishing them up, but in the next couple of weeks, I'll be starting to share pieces of those with the Discord community. So if you want extra analysis, extra insight to help you make your fantasy and betting picks, or just want to chat CFL along with the rest of us, hit up the Discord. It's free to join. There's a link in the episode description to do so, and we'd love to have you join the CFC community over there. The Canadian Football Countdown is also brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Game Time TV. We're live on our YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch feeds here tonight, thanks to them. Learn more about Game Time TV by visiting GameTimeTV.ca or Facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. See a number of people tuning in live here this evening. If you're watching on the Facebook or YouTube feeds, send in your comments in the live chat. Send in your questions. We'll take them throughout the show here as well. Before we go any further, we do want to acknowledge that the Canadian Football Countdown is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. All right, let's get this show on the road here, boys. CFL season kicks off Thursday, June 6th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's a Grey Cup rematch in the city of Winnipeg, Princess Auto Field. The Alouettes come to town to face the Bombers. Let's talk storylines, major storylines for these two teams first. Adam, you're our storyteller here. What you got for us?
Well, first things first, I think we got to go to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They got a new name for their field. Of course, Princess Auto Field. Most of us in Saskatchewan have been joking around a little bit about that, to be honest with you. We say, yeah, where it looks beautiful until you actually start using the product, and then the field breaks down. But, that's us in Saskatchewan. Nevertheless, the Bombers, it's got to start stinging a little bit here. 2 years in a row now, they've not won the Grey Cup. They've been in the match. Just can't quite get it done. They've got a few key injuries already going on. Of course, Adam Bighill is on the 6-game injured list. Lots of players haven't practiced here until actually training camp ended. So Zach Collaros didn't get a single throw in during preseason. Brady Oliveira hasn't had any runs. Lots and lots of decent. Nick Dembski maybe had like 1 or 2 training camp days. Same thing also with Patrick Neufeld. So there's a lot of things that are kind of odd about Winnipeg this week that are going to be going on. But I think the main question is, what's the key for the Bombers actually? And apparently the odds makers don't think I'm going to be right, but it doesn't seem like a game maybe that the Bombers should win. What's the Bombers got to do to keep this Alouettes team either down in points or they got to just score more? What's the strategy for the Bombers going into this one? Trey, go with you first.
I mean, I guess when we just, if you saw the TSN top 50 players, I guess number 1 and number 2 were Blue Bombers, right? Did I read that correct? So with Collaros and Oliveira, so I guess you got to lean on those.
Was 4.
And Schoen was 4. So 3 of the top 5 are all on one offense. I guess that's your point. I agree with you wholeheartedly. The odds makers are on something crazy this week, or the bettors are, because when I'm looking, we'll talk about the betting, but the betting just is odd to me, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I think the Bombers, I was actually surprised. I thought they would maybe even be the underdogs at home, which I don't know how often that happens, and stuff. Not that home field matters at all, but odds makers thinks it does. And bettors sure thinks it does. But I guess you got to lean on those 3 guys on the offense and hope that old line sticks together and your defense isn't Swiss cheese, right, Ryan?
Yeah, it's going to come down to 2 things here for me for Winnipeg. And one is the defense needs to tighten it down. There's definitely concerns with guys like Bighill being injured, some of the pieces they've lost there, fresh crew here. last season, Montreal's offense didn't light it up all year long, but they played their best dang game of the season in the Grey Cup against the Bombers, where Fajardo was playing conservative passing football for most of the season and then started throwing darts, and they beat the Bombers on a couple of big plays there. So they got to limit the big plays. That's something that this defense has struggled with. The classic bend but don't break. I got to get a reference in there in week 1 to just to annoy Trey about the bend but don't break defense. I hear the whiteboard coming out now already. They gotta shut that down, and I think if they can contain them, that'll help them out. But the offense is going to need to get going against a stellar Montreal defense here as well. And if you look back at almost any Bombers home game over the last couple of years, the way they kind of close out a game is pretty similar in that, you play tight football, you get a lead, and then Brady Oliveira runs out 15 minutes in the fourth quarter. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think Montreal's better at defending the pass than they are against the run. So leaning on the top running back in the CFL is certainly, I think, the way the Bombers offense has got to do it in this one, especially with the question marks on the offensive line. Adam, what about you?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see how the new defensive coordinator works things out, Jordan Younger. It's going to be very interesting to see what kind of a strategy he comes with. I'm predicting it's going to be very similar to what Richie Hall's was, which was bend no break. I hope that Winnipeg is ready for quite a bit of receiving power against them. Montreal definitely has a very good defense, or a very good offensive strategy with, again, some of the best receivers must be in the league. They let go of one of the guys that was supposed to be one of the best in the league, which was quite amazing. So it'll be very interesting to see how Winnipeg reacts to the ball. They don't have DeMario Houston back there anymore as well, which was a big key to taking a lot of balls away from other teams. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with that. I think, Ryan, you're right, though. They're going to have to rely on that big offense and hope that it does something for the first 3 quarters and then just burn the game out with Oliveira. I don't think it'll be interesting also to see with Winnipeg how much they use Oliveira and how much they use Strevler, because they do have a 1-2 punch there as well. It'll be very interesting to see what they do with that. They got a different weapon there, and that one hasn't been seen since the Bombers did win the Grey Cup second last time. So, Winnipeg, I think, will be a handful. But Montreal, the storyline I've got for them essentially is all about a certain defensive lineman, Sean Lemon. So I'm going to give you the story here of Sean Lemon really fast and tell me if this is the conventional way that a CFL player plays week 1 in the CFL. So he signed with Montreal last year, dominated with them, won the Grey Cup with them, signed an extension, then he retired, then he got indefinitely suspended for betting on games, then rejoined the team, appealed the suspension, is now going to play on Thursday night. Seems like a very good strategy to make the team.
Can you repeat that, Adam? I missed that.
Okay, I'll do this really quick once more. Dominated, won cup, got an extension, retired, and definitely suspended. Rejoined the team, appealed the suspension, and now play Thursday night.
And auctioneer Adam comes out a little bit on the podcast here.
Except I didn't sell him, but that's about all. That was the difference. Anyways, this is going to be a big distraction for Montreal going forward. From what it sounded like on the TSN preview show tonight, it's going to be like 3 or 4 weeks till the possible appeal case kind of gets heard. Is this a problem for Montreal, or it's the player so good, who cares? Ryan?
I don't think so. I don't think it'll be that much of a distraction. I think as long as he's there, he's practicing with the team, and it's going to be based on that. They're all professionals. They're all used to dealing with all these different things going on. I kind of wonder, maybe you wonder if there's a little jabs in the locker room of like, hey, Sean, you betting on us tonight, or things like that going on, or hey, I hope you put it down on me scoring a touchdown tonight, or something like that. No, I'm joking. That's not going to go on in the locker room. I don't really think.
Is Cody Fajardo just going to tell Sean Lemon to go, and just watch?
Yeah, exactly. Sean Lemon's going to play. Maybe he'll get suspended again at some point, pending the the ruling here on his gambling case there. But he's going to play for now. He's going to be dominant the way he has been as we welcome Trey back in after having some technical difficulties there. I don't think that's going to be the distraction for Montreal. The bigger storyline, if I can butt in here for Montreal for me this week, was Tevin Jones being released. I boldly made the claim on our top 10 wide receivers preview for this year that Tevin Jones would be the number 6 receiver in the CFL. I also took him as one of my bonus round picks in the fantasy draft last episode and talked about how I had thought about taking him halfway through the draft. And I'm shocked, honestly, that Tevin Jones has been released. I really did not see that coming. I thought he was going to be a great fit there. I mean, 800 yards last season, and kind of makes me wonder, he's got all the talent. There was talk about him not knowing a playbook or whatever in Saskatchewan. Now he gets cut by Montreal. Is there maybe a little bit more going on there, in terms of not just talent, but a cultural fit or something like that with the team that's not clicking with a guy like Jones? And now you get, a new guy in there. Sounds like Charleston Rambo's going to get the starting wide receiver spot. And what a name. With a name like that, I feel like you got to have a spot in the starting lineup. Trey, when your internet cut out, we were talking about the whole Sean Lemon story, and Adam's question was whether you think it's going to be a distraction for the team. I said no. What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's rather interesting. Different league. 4 guys from the MLB got big suspensions today or yesterday as well. One with a lifetime and a couple other guys year suspension. So I mean, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. But again, maybe in the CFL, it's a little overshadowed by another situation. So I don't think so either. If anything, it'll be something good for the Bomber fans to maybe holler at him when he's coming out of the tunnel or on the bench or something like, "Oh, did you take the over, Lemon?" Something like that. But other than that, I don't think so. I have more things to be concerned about, and I just think it's funny when the fantasy guru got the guy cut pretty early in the season. I think that's that's kind of funny.
They just had to balance things out for you guys. I needed that handicap.
I never laugh about an injury, but I feel bad a guy lost his job, but I mean,
you know what? Ryan needed the humbling.
Yeah.
It's all.
Oh yeah, 100%. The key to the trash talk is when it kind of turns around the other direction. So happy, I'll happy to give in on this one, but not a great start this year to my 2024 predictions after 2023 was a mess with all the Elks picks then. So we could be going down a slippery slope here. And yes, I did. I see a comment in the chat. Yes, I did take Taylor Cornelius last year in the draft. So you know what? Some fantasy picks miss, but it's not one in the draft. It's one on the waiver wire. The fantasy league, waiver wire wins championships, right? Speaking of fantasy here, let's move on to some fantasy picks for this game between these two teams. Nobody on the Winnipeg side I'm feeling super confident in this week. I think Montreal's got a pretty good shutdown defense. I think Winnipeg players are generally overpriced, although Lawler at $10,000 in Game Zone Fantasy is not bad, honestly, priced there. 2 Montreal Alouettes stick out to me, though. Number 1 is wide receiver Tyson Philpott. He's only $7,500 in fantasy, and he had touchdowns in 5 of his last 6 regular season games last year. He's 23 years old, continuing to get better and better. I expect him to take a huge step forward this year. I know you guys think the same. I think, Trey, you had him all the way up to number 3 on your wide receiver list for this season. And I also think, like we've talked about, Winnipeg's defense has some holes that could be exploited in this one. So Tyson Philpott's player to watch, number 1 from this game. And the other one is the only defense I'm going to mention tonight, and that's the Montreal defense at $9,000. It's pricey for a defense. but they finished with double-digit fantasy points in 4 of their last 5 games last year. They're loaded with talent across the board. They're stacked on defense, and we've talked about question marks from the Bombers O-line so far. So I like a couple of these Montreal picks in this game. Any name, Winnipeg or Montreal? Give me one name that you guys have, if you have one, that I didn't mention here already. Adam?
I do have one name. I just got to look it up real fast. I think it's the only one I picked from any of these two teams. It's Tyson Philpo of the Montreal Alouettes. Had a very good game against the Bombers in the Grey Cup. I think he's going to have another good year. I don't know if this is the game to do it in. I think if there's any, why not? May as well try it here. I do also have, I think, no, I didn't take him. Okay. Yeah, Tyson Philpo for me. He's $7,500. Not a terrible price, and I think he can get some production.
Yeah, sorry. So my internet's still being stupid. I'm cutting in and out here. I'm done with Shaw. Shaw's pissing me off. But anyway, I have
there goes that sponsorship.
And then running back. Yeah. Man, I can't win. Bell pissed me off, and now Shaw pisses me off. I'm kind of running out of options here in Manitoba. Yeah, I got Philpott, and then running back. I'm interested to this because I was thinking about the running back for Montreal as well. More expensive is Fletcher, I believe. Let me just double check here while my internet's reloaded. Yeah, Fletcher's the most expensive one, but we know that I have Jeshwan Antwi on our fantasy team, so depending on who gets the nod, I would probably go with that. Stay away from the Bombers. Completely overpriced, overrated. One thing I might do is I might eye up Fajardo just because of that Swiss cheese Bomber defense. But as of now, I don't have him in there, and I have tons of budget left, so we'll see.
Yeah, Fajardo's not officially on my list for this week, but was in strong consideration. Doesn't have a huge ceiling, at least last year in most games, but hit a pretty safe floor between 13 and 15 points in a lot of weeks. So I think there are better options for a big game, but it could be a safe pick there for you. And Montreal's running backs also, I think I've got to wait a couple weeks just to see how they split it, because last year they kind of split the time between the two. All right, betting picks in this game. I'll put the lines back up on the screen here. Montreal 6.5 point underdogs. Over under is 48.5 here. Trey, take us through your thoughts on that line.
This is a line that screams everyone's picking the Bombers, and you saw that if you look at the pick'ems on CFL. I think it was like 8 taking Winnipeg in this one. They're begging anyone and everyone to bet on Montreal. Anything loses money when the favorite wins. They make more money when the underdog wins. So they're begging you to bet on Montreal. And the fact that Montreal isn't favored, they're number one power ranked team. They're the defending champions. Who have they really lost? One of their biggest losses over the offseason was Lemon, who's he's back. So, what have they lost? Winnipeg's lost a lot more. God, that Princess Auto home field advantage must be worth 10 points to odds makers here, because this is a ridiculous line. Give me Montreal plus 6.5, and at plus 250, give me Montreal outright to win. So for every $1 you bet, you would win $2.50 back as well. So I think Montreal, this is like the outright, they're the biggest underdog by money line odds this week, but I think they're honestly the best chance of winning out of any team. So give me Montreal, and give me the under. Under in this one. But if you the Montreal specific, I think take the over, because they had 19.5 is what they're at. So I'd say Montreal scores over 19.5, but the total is under 48.5. Ryan, let's go with you.
Yeah, I think we're thinking pretty similarly here. I was surprised it was this big in Winnipeg's favor. I like Montreal to cover the points here, at least for sure. I would consider that Montreal money line there as well. Part of me there is a part of me that just knows how Winnipeg does play at home. I know you say home field advantage doesn't matter, but this is a team that always, and I don't know what it is, but always plays better at home than they do away. They find a way to put games away with the keys that I talked about earlier. So I could see a case, maybe more so where Winnipeg wins like a close one, but Montreal still covers. But I also would be tempted to take that Montreal money line, like you talked about, at that price and pay out there as well. But my favorite play in this game is the last one you mentioned there, Montreal, whether it's over 19.5, over 20, whatever line you can find that at. I agree. I think Montreal's got enough firepower in this one to put a couple touchdowns and a couple field goals up on the board and to get over that point total and potentially win this game. Adam?
I like Montreal in this one at 6.5. I mean, how could you not, to be honest with you? I know that Winnipeg, yes, Richard in the chat says that they'll be motivated as main X factor. Motivation gets you a little ways. Boy, that Montreal team also just won a Grey Cup, and I'm sure they still want to prove to Montreal or to Winnipeg there's a reason why we just won this thing. So give me Montreal for the 6.5. I want to say they cover, though. I think that Winnipeg's going to make a game of this. And then what do you call it? I'll go with the under on the score. It could get a little sloppy, especially with Winnipeg not knowing or not having players running in preseason. Could take a game to get adjusted. So Montreal might score quite a few, but I think Winnipeg isn't going to. And I still think that Montreal is still going to, like, Winnipeg is going to keep it within a touchdown.
Yeah, so you have Montreal plus 6.5. Do you have under 48.5 or over 48.5?
Under 48.5.
And did you say under 48.5 too, Ryan? I missed that.
I forgot to mention it, but yeah, I think I'd go slightly under.
Under 48.5. Just want to keep track. Better this year. Perfect. I'm plus 6.5 just seems to me like they're begging you to bet Montreal, and it's wild. And I get the motivation, but like you said, Adam, we won't spend too much time on this. Montreal has motivation too. Do you really think to kick off your defending season, you want to lose to the team that you just beat however many months ago? I don't think so. But this was the craziest one of the weekend anyway. There's a couple other crazy ones we'll talk about. That green team Adam's wearing, but yeah, that's the bets.
Quick question on the betting, and I don't want to go too far into the conversation, but early on in the year, am I right that I feel like there's a greater opportunity to take advantage of the odds early in the year because odds makers are looking at last couple seasons, for example, Bombers 4 straight trips to the Grey Cup, Montreal second in the East last year, but sure, they go on to win it. And maybe they're not closely watching all the different moves made in the offseason.
No, that's 100% true. They're looking at that. And respectfully, the CFL is a tougher league to handicap, right? For this stuff. It's not the NFL where they probably have 1,001 different algorithms if you've ever looked at XFL and UFL lines and college lines, they kind of get crazy sometimes, and CFL is kind of along that way. But I agree, yes, early in the season, they're not going to do anything that could risk them losing money. But yeah, I think that they'll sometimes go lopsided. Like Montreal's the number 1 power ranked team in the league. So why are they underdogs against the number 2 team? Right? Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. So either the rankings are wrong or the betting odds are wrong, or a little bit of both, I guess.
Probably a little bit of both. Let's move on to our second game here of the week. We got to keep rolling along here. Hamilton in Calgary to face the Stampeders here on Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I think there's one big storyline, at least on everybody's minds in this matchup. Adam, what is it?
Yeah, I'm sure that FM fan will tell us all about it right away here. It's Bo Levi. I don't know who made the schedule last year, honestly. Bo Levi Mitchell needed to go back to Calgary last year, if nothing else, to exercise a few demons. Didn't get the opportunity, got hurt, and that was the rest of Bo Levi's season. Well, he's getting another shot. First game of the season, he's going to go out to Calgary and take on the Stampeders. Which Bo Levi? Here's 2 things for you, for 2 questions real quick. What did the Calgary Stampeders fan do when they got Bo Levi Mitchell in a black and yellow jersey on the other sideline? What will the Stamps fan base do? And secondly, which Bo Levi Mitchell's coming out? The old Grey Cup gunslinger that was in Calgary for 10 years and won him 2 Grey Cups, or the old bottom low throws, high throws, my shoulder's shot, and complain to the receiver all the time, Bo Levi Mitchell? Which one's coming out tomorrow? Or not tomorrow, I guess Friday night.
I'll call the shot here, and I think I called this in a game last season, and I'm going to call it the same way. Opening drive, Bo is going to throw a 70-yard pass downfield to, I'm going to say it's Luther Hakunavanu in this case, because he's got that old Calgary connection, just to burn them a little bit more. And then it's going to be hyped up. Bo's going to be feeling it, and then throw like 3 picks the rest of the game or something like that. And it's, he's going to try to take that shot to make that splash early in the game. And this is what I've seen Bo do a lot over the last couple of years to try to get things back on track. But I just don't know if it's fully going to get back on track here. I think we'll see a middling performance. I don't know if we'll see a disaster. I mean, Calgary, I think, is a decent matchup for them here between 2 teams we all kind of predicted to be lower in their respective divisions. As for what you had said, how do Calgary fans welcome him back? I feel like you got to welcome back with applause after everything Bo did there. It didn't end great. The way he ended up leaving, kind of, being benched for Jake Maier there and leaving, you can't really fault Bo for wanting to leave in that case, and you can't fault the team from wanting to move on from it. I don't think there should be any bad blood there for the way things exited the way they did. And you have to look back that Calgary was the class of the CFL for years, and Bo Levi Mitchell was a big reason for that. So, Andrew Harris got a standing ovation when he came back to Winnipeg last year. I think Bo gets the same in Calgary. Trey, what do you think?
I agree about the second part. He should get a standing ovation. The only thing I disagree with is your 70-yard pass. He's probably going to overshoot his receiver by 20 yards and go right into the crowd there. I guess there's no really crowd up in the horseshoe. It's kind of far back at McMahon. But yeah, if he's anything like how I saw him last year, he's going to have the arm early, overthrow it, and then he's going to be like me playing slow pitch. I can't throw it again for the rest of the day after one big throw from center field. But yeah, this game's a weird one. Really close on the odds, really close, I think, talent-wise. So I really don't know. Other than I'm excited to see Bo play against Calgary again, I guess, and I want to see how bad these teams are. I don't really know what else to say about it.
You know what? I'm going to go the same way as both of you on the Calgary part. They're going to go give the Jumbotron and give it over for Bo Levi Mitchell and give him his little tribute. And I really hope they do all that for him. The guy deserves it. I mean, he did win you 2 Grey Cups and took you to a few more. I think he's, like I said, he deserves his day in Calgary. That being said, I hope he does well. I don't really want Calgary to win, so I kind of hope Bo Levi does pretty good. Will he? Well, that'll remain to be seen, I suppose. I think you're right more on it, Ryan, though. He's going to get one of those old classic Bo Levi drives, 20-yarder, 30-yarder, 30-yarder touchdown. And then that's going to be maybe the only one, I think, in a very long season for Bo Levi Mitchell. But you know what? In a way, I hope it ends up next week. Somehow Hamilton wins this one. And Bo gets one last victory in Calgary against Calgary. So that's my kind of hope on that game. For Calgary, man, I think they're going to be called the Bad Luck Bryans pretty soon. I mean, Malik Henry's done for the season already. Not only took out his ankle, I think he took out Achilles and did just whatever damage you could do to a knee. Essentially, he almost did it. So I feel terrible for the guy. I mean, comes back, works rehabs all season or all off season, does what he has to do, and then gets hurt. It sucks when that happens. Who's going to take the most catches here from Jake Maier this year? I mean, Reggie Bagleton got a lot last year from Calgary. Is there anybody else to look at that the Stampeders maybe have in that position to take a lot of catches? Maybe Middlemost or somebody else?
I have one I'll mention when we get to the fantasy picks, but I'll say in general, I'm kind of excited for this Calgary receiving corps because they got a lot of the good young Canadian talent in that they drafted last season. They drafted Clark Barnes. He had a decent year before he got injured. Cole Tucker they drafted. Jalen Philpott was injured all of last year after a promising rookie campaign. He's going to be back in there. So I think they do still have some exciting pieces here in the Calgary receiving core that I'm excited to see what they can do with here. Trey, any thoughts from you on that end of things?
I'm just this is the battle for the first overall draft pick. I feel like so just to get it over in week 1.
And let's be real, Reggie Bagleton could have like 14 targets. I mean that we've seen that before, right? Where they lean on him like that.
Yeah, you could do that, and I'm interested to see the like you said, Jalen Philpott too. He was supposed to be, from all accounts, the better brother, and now he's got to catch up a little bit to Tyson, right? So we'll see how that goes.
One thing I could probably throw in there is, it's maybe not about the receivers. I still wonder on the quarterback eventually if Jake Maier actually aims downfield or not, or if
he did in the preseason game.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, he also knows he's paying Bowen for week 1, so it's going to be a gunslinger battle, or at least he's hoping. I don't know. Honestly, I look at Jake Maier, and now that there's some injuries already starting to creep in, I wonder now if he's maybe starting to get a little panicky. Maybe a little bit of second doubting. And you know what? It doesn't help when you're still a young quarterback in the league and just trying to get settled in. I wonder how short of a leash they're going to have for Jake Maier until they make the trade over for former Ticad Matthew Schultz. The Rod Smith the Rod Black made me do that.
Or did it? I think there's gonna be a short leash on Maier just because they did bring in Schultz and he's got the potential to be a starter and he's been paid that much for it. I also think there's a non-zero chance we see a Jake Maier bounce back season this year. And I'll throw out a really hot take here, and I'm not super confident in this one. But Maier threw the ball so many times last season. Like he was throwing 40 times a game. A bunch of them weren't accurate. A bunch of them didn't go for more yards. If he's even a bit better than last year, I think there's a non-zero chance he could finish number 1 passing yards on the season. Jake Maier could. Can he convert to the end zone? That remains part of the question as well. But the key is going to be, to throw more than 6-yard passes, which he did almost all the time last season. And we saw him launch it in the preseason game in Winnipeg. So maybe there's a chance there that Maier is going to open the game up a little bit more here. I don't know. Is that too hot of a take? Jake Maier leading the league in passing yards this year?
Yep.
Honestly, I don't like it, but okay. You do you, Ryan. You do you.
Richard does make a great point. His receivers dropped a ton of balls last year. Like some of them were terrible throws, but I feel like Calgary, maybe more so than any other team, had a lot of drops from their receivers that will hopefully clean that up a little bit. But you never know. Jake Maier did finish near the top of the league in passing yards last year. Partially because he was the only quarterback to play all 18 games as the starter. So you can stay healthy in that category. Let's move on to fantasy players to watch here. I've got 2 of them. We'll stick with Calgary first. There's one receiver I didn't talk about there that I think is an intriguing play this week, and that's at $8,100, Markin Michel of the Stampeders. He had lots of targets in a pass-heavy offense last year. I think he averaged around 5 or 6 a game, had games up to 7, 8, even one where he had 15 near the end of the season. And I think the offense will, in general, be better than they were last year. I think due to the lack of injuries, hopefully so far, besides Malik Henry, that's a tough one. I also think the Ticats defense has some glaring concerns with all the changes they've had this offseason. Maybe there's room to exploit it there. And how much do you buy into preseason play? I don't know, but Markin Michel was targeted over and over and over and over again in that preseason game in Winnipeg, which, took a little bit to realize because there was mispronunciation of his name in stadium, but it was in fact Markin Michel. So at $8,100, I think there's intrigue there. And then my other pick at $12,500, I'm going to the running back position. I'm going to the Ticats. We haven't talked about him yet. I'm going to James Butler He was second in carries last season, 13.8 per game. First in running back targets, 4.6 per game there for James Butler. I like running backs that get a lot of receiving work in a PPR league. 6 weeks over 20 points last season, meaning he had some massive performances. And the Stamps did struggle against the run last year and also lost a couple of pieces on their defensive line and free agency. So I think there's room for James Butler, who is definitely a focal point of that Hamilton offense. Whether you believe in their quarterback or not is one thing, but you should believe in James Butler. Adam, what do you think here? Besides Butler and Michelle, anybody else come to mind from this game for you?
Yeah, I got one actually, and I can't believe you didn't take him because I know how much you love your cheap receivers. I'm going to take Shamar Bridges. You know what? 6'4" receiver. He's exactly what Milanovic wants out of his receivers, being tall. He had some good chemistry in the preseason with Bo Levi. He's on, as FM fan has told me, he's on the top 5 right now for receivers for the week. He's practicing with the ones. I expect a big year out of Shamar Bridges, and I think his dollar value is going to go up, so I'm going to take him right now while I can because I don't know if I'll afford him eventually.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I had my eye on him after a big preseason game there as well. Definitely a potential value play that might make my value play list put out on social media this week as well. Trey, we've talked about James Butler. We've talked about Mark and Michelle. We've talked about Shamar Bridges. Anybody from this game catch your fantasy eye we haven't talked about?
Nope. This is my no-go zone, if I'm allowed to have one this week. Too close in the money line, like too close betting, too close. Maybe Butler, but Hamilton doesn't always utilize him very well. So I want to see maybe a week or two of that before we go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, this is my no-go zone for fantasy.
I think Butler gets more usage now that Tommy Condell is out in there.
That's fair.
Sure. Yeah.
But, you're going to tell me that, Ryan, and then you're going to not take him and beat me by 50 points. So I'm going to wait a week.
All right. Yeah, no, you got to do you. You got to believe in the stats you believe in.
Can I also add on Shamar Bridges? I always love going and watching the Calgary defensive backs because that could be a good position to take advantage of. I think Bridges might have a big game just because of also the defense on Calgary's side of the football.
Absolutely. All right, betting odds. I'll throw them back up on the screen here. What do we got for the odds here, Trey?
This one's as close to a coin toss as you can get it. I guess McMahon's home field advantage is only half a point in this one. Man, I don't even know. Like I haven't. This one I didn't have picked, but then I realized I had Hamilton only winning one game this year, and I don't think it's going to be this one. So give me Calgary. Bo will flop in his return, or even if he does good. And then the 45.5, though, this one's tough, too, because if you do quick mental math, that's what, 23-22? Kind of a score? So I'm going to go under, though. I'm going to risk that one. It's not a lock for me, but definitely going under in that one. Ryan?
Yeah, I lean towards Calgary at first glance. This one's kind of it's a flip a coin one. We forgot to flip Adam's coin on the previous game, so maybe we'll bring that next week into consideration. We'll give the coin a week to warm up.
Oh, come on! I can flip it easily for the Winnipeg Montreal one real quick.
Yeah, we'll do that one. We'll do that after.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll come back to that if we remember later. You can flip it for this game, though, if you want. I'm going to go Calgary. I lean Calgary here. I lean Jake Mayer actually having a decent game for himself. Does he hit 300 yards passing? No. Could I see him hitting 270, 280? Yeah, I could see a situation against this defense for Mayer hitting that. Over under, 45.5 is a low line. 25-21 gets it done. I'm going to go over. I think even though the offenses have their ineptitudes, so do the defenses. And I think the special teams for both of these teams could potentially put up some points as well. So I'll go over in this one. Adam?
Well, I switched the hat purposely because I think this is going to be Hamilton's game that they actually might win because Bo Levi Mitchell wants to go into Calgary. I'm certain and absolutely stick it to Dave Dickinson and to everybody else in Calgary and make sure that they know that, hey, you guys let me go. I wasn't ready to go, and I'm going to show you up. If there's ever a time for the Bo Levi Mitchell Revenge Tour to start, this is the place to start it in. I think he's going to have a great game. I think that some young receivers that Hamilton has now might just get started in their careers in the right way. James Butler could have a very good game as well. So give me the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And I'm going to say the over just because I think Hamilton is going to get 30 on this one. You know what? I'm not very confident in the Calgary defense. And I don't not really like the Hamilton one either, but I think it could be like 30-20 or something like that. So definitely going to give the over on this one. Now, Richard in the chat says, do I have a lucky coin? Well, of course I got a lucky coin. It's this toonie right here. But what's so special about this toonie is it's a 2013 toonie. We all know what happened in 2013, right? So,
I think I skipped that year.
What's that?
I think I skipped that year.
Yeah, the 13th year. Yeah, everybody would have skipped that one, eh? Anyways, I'm going to flip it here. Home team is always going to be heads. Tails will be the away team, just to see on an outright pick. So let's see. It is a tails. Hamilton will win this one, apparently, compared to the toonie.
I mean, Adam doesn't seem to believe in home field because I'm going to bet he's going to take all 4 road teams this week. So
interesting.
I mean, looking at the up 2 matchups, it's hard for me to think you're not taking Saskatchewan. It's hard for me to think you're not taking BC, but we'll talk. So
as he goes to switch hats again.
Maybe he doesn't take Saskatchewan, but if you don't take BC, I'd be a little shocked. But
can I throw out a quick player prop or two here? Give me a quick over-under. I don't need much explanation on them because we've been talking about these guys. The 2 quarterbacks in this game, over-under passing yards from FanDuel. Bo Levi Mitchell, the line's at 234.5. Jake Mayer, the line is 248.5. Betting expert Trey, what do you think?
You know what? I liked what you said about Jake Mayer throwing it a lot, so maybe take the over on him. I could see him hitting 250. We'll have like 3 picks, but he'll hit 250. And Bo Levi, he's a guy. If he's going to win this game, he'll have like 190 and like 2 picks. So give me the under on him. Over Mayer, under Bo.
That's what I've got as well.
Yeah.
Adam, you're muted. I've got the exact opposite. I think Bo's going to actually throw for over 250. And I think that probably Mayer is going to suffer. So I don't know. Just opposite day for that one.
All right, moving on to our third game here. Let's go to the 2 teams where green is, in fact, the color. I don't need July 18th or 19th or whatever it is to remind us of that. Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Edmonton Elks, Saturday, June 8th at 7 p.m. Oh, wait, no, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Adam, what's going on there?
Oh, I have no idea. Something about some hockey game? I don't know. Some game or something with this Matthew guy in it and some McDavid guy. I don't know. Anyways, on the game here for the storylines, we've got the Rough Riders. Of course, they're new in almost everything this year. New running back. Practically a new quarterback. They didn't have Trevor Harris much last year. You've got AJ Ouellette, like I just said. You got Marquise Sales joining the Saskatchewan Rough Riders today. Defensive back. He was an all-star last year for BC. That's a pretty good pickup. You've also got, of course, you got a new head coach. You only got 2 quarterbacks on the roster, which is kind of interesting. Shea Patterson won the job over some Mason Fine guy. And, of course, new head coach, Corey Mace, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, new announcer in Saskatchewan, new play-by-play guy in Saskatchewan. Everything's new in Saskatchewan, including the jerseys. So, the expectation in Riderville, of course, because, everything's new, is sky high. Should it be? I think it's maybe a little bit overhyped. Trey, of course, you have the highest record for the Rough Riders. What do you think? Is it overhyped or, it's exactly what's going to happen?
Can I just butt in here real quick? I'm looking at Adam's notes here, and they say expectations are sky high in Saskatchewan and in one household in Winnipeg. And I think we know who they're talking about.
Probably not the whole household, just one person in that household.
Oh, yeah, my kid asked if he can bring the stuffed gopher to the game on Thursday to beat him up, and I said we only bring that on Banjo Bowl. So I knew
stuffed gopher, he just has to pat it and treat it nicely.
Oh no, they were beating him up the other day. I don't know where he went. Oh, here he is. Here he is. Hey, I'll take him. He can sit with me for the rest of this. I don't care. That's fine. Yeah,
gopher in your hand. I think you may not walk out of Princess Auto Field.
That's fine. I'm not ashamed of my my newfound allegiance to the watermelon team in Saskatchewan, and I don't really care. You won't catch me wearing a jersey, not even that really cool looking, what'd you call it, obsidian green or whatever it's called. But I think the sky is the limit here. I'm kind of shocked that Edmonton is 2.5 again for this one. I don't think Brick Field at Commonwealth Stadium has that big of a home field advantage. I mean, no, I won't say that. I was going to say something about the Edmonton Oilers that's been trending on Twitter, if you know what I mean. But we're going to leave that in there. That's the only thing that maybe they have advantage on. But
is it Connor McDavid's beer run from?
No, I wasn't even going that way. Adam knows what I'm talking about.
I know what he's going with.
You son of a gun.
Hey, all I can say is Florida has one too.
That's fair. But I think. No, and then we're talking about odds being out next week. They're kind of disrespected again. They're like 2.5 against they're plus 2.5 against Hamilton. Like, what is that? So I think Saskatchewan could easily walk away 2-0 against Edmonton and Hamilton to start the season, and everyone's going to be talking about drinking that green Kool-Aid, right, Adam? Or Ryan? What, Ryan? Come on, man. Just tell me right now. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be all Saskatchewan, right?
I'm high on Saskatchewan. I'm high on the pieces they have, the pieces they brought in this year. My only question is how long does it take to gel? And that's my question every time there's massive overhaul for any team in free agency is, are they going to be that upper echelon team in week one? I don't know if they will be. Could they be a force to be reckoned with later in the season? Absolutely. But I think that it could potentially take that time to gel. And we're going to see. I mean, 2-0 in the preseason, that's a great start. How much stock do you put into that? But they looked good in the preseason games they played. They had some exciting players in those preseason games that ended up earning themselves roster spots. They made the biggest mistake they could have ever made and released Mason Fine. I don't know what they're doing by doing that, but I'm kidding. Hey, consensus Discord favorite for the number 2 quarterback for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, Mason Fine, and the team decided to go a different direction.
That just tells you the team there goes and listens to itself first over the fans.
The fans are always right, whether I rigged the vote or not on that one. You know what? No, I get it though. But yeah, the big question for me is, what does Trevor Harris look like coming off the injury? I don't think he played a ton in the preseason. Correct me if I'm wrong. And all the pieces, how do they gel? But on paper, this team looks good. And I'm just excited to see what a Corey Mace-led team looks like. And a team that is hopefully not going to have more off-field distractions than wins on the field this year. So,
well, I don't think they're going bowling in Edmonton. Let's put it that way. You know what? No, I think that the Riders could be a team then down. Like, it's going to take a week or two for at least the offensive line to gel. It's going to take a week at least for Trevor Harris to get used to Ajo being out there instead of Brandon Ledius. There's a few little things as in Riderville that take time to develop. I still think they can beat Edmonton. I think Edmonton's not really that big of a problem yet. Maybe down the road they might be again. But McLeod Bethel Thompson is a brand new quarterback, a brand new system with all brand new players around him except for Curly Gittins Jr., which I'm sure they can key in on one player, Saskatchewan. I think the Riders are pretty good, but I don't think they're Still, the hype maybe needs to be tempered a little bit here in the preseason or in the early quarter of the season, I'll say. Can they beat them, though? Oh, yeah. Anyway, the other question on the other side of the ball is the Edmonton Elks. Of course, the Elks have all new quarterback, as I just said before. They still have Kevin Brown in there. They still have a very dangerous receiving core if you let them get open, like Eugene Lewis, like Dylan Mitchell, who I think will still have a bounce back year. And they also acquired Gurley Gittins Jr. They know they've got a pretty good offense there in Edmonton. The defense is a little bit of a question, and that leads me to the head coach and general manager of the Edmonton Elks, Chris Jones. I think he's probably under the most pressure of any coach or general manager in the league right now to get some results with this team that he's gotten. If this team gets off to a bad start, is he gone midseason, or does he stick around? What goes on there with Chris Jones? And really, how much pressure is there on him right now to perform?
You still got that coin available there, Adam? Because I think flip a coin because you never know anything when it comes to Chris Jones. What is he going to do with the lineup any given week? What is the team going to do with him? Is he just going to walk away from the team mid-contract? You never really know with Jones. But yeah, it's been a couple of years. The Chris Jones effect, year one's going to be a disaster, and he's going to start building a strong team in the next couple of years. And we haven't really hit that yet this year. They made some interesting offseason moves with MBT, Curly Gittins Jr. I like those. I think they took a step back, maybe at some positions on the defensive side of the ball, losing AC Leonard, losing Jake Seresna is going to hurt on that D line, I think, for this team. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle on the Elks right now, and I have no idea what to expect from them this year, and I'm not getting my hopes up the way I did last season, Trey.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about mid-season. I wonder the Elks are still in the midst of their purchasing of the team, right? Like there are people looking at buying the team, so I wonder if that will be a decision in the offseason, and maybe new ownership doesn't want Chris Jones, and maybe Chris Jones doesn't want to work for the new ownership if that comes in. So you never know with that. And he famously says he only signs 1-year contracts, right? Or whatever. So, I don't know about, I always shake my head at mid-season coaching changes, but then we're talking about Edmonton. Didn't the Oilers do that this year? And they're in the Stanley Cup, right? We see it a lot in hockey, and it works
well in hockey.
It works well in hockey, but then we see it in basketball. Milwaukee was the number one team in the East. They fire their coach, and then they barely made the playoffs. I thought they went on a huge losing streak with Doc Rivers as a new coach. So it's really weird coaching, but I think football is maybe one of the more important sports to have it. You're trying to build something in Edmonton. I don't know. I've never been sold on Chris Jones other than he was my favorite guy to rib on during Labor Day weekend, right? So I don't know. I'm hoping, but we'll see.
Oddly enough, I think he was also Saskatchewan's favorite to rib on during Labor Day week.
I don't know. A guy wanted to fight me when I called him a cheater, so I don't know. And I went to Gate 1 to meet him, and he never showed up. So that shows a lot about you, Regina. So that's fine.
I mean, I'd offer you a fight if you wanted to show up for a chat. I mean, I'd probably have to find somebody else too. So.
I waited for a solid 20 minutes, man. That's. But what do you think about Richard's take? He's got a hot take. He thinks Trey Ford ends the season as the number one QB in Edmonton. What about that? I could see it, but only if Ethel Thompson really craps the bed or injured, right? I can't. I don't know, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, I really the same way.
Yeah, it would have to really take consecutive weeks of 2-3 interceptions or not moving the ball. I think Bethel Thompson's going to be just fine for this team, honestly. And I think, unfortunately, for Trey Ford, it might be a great guy to learn from, but it might just be another year of him holding the clipboard because of that.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity to learn, and how many years is MBT there in Edmonton? Does Ford stick around to eventually get his shot to start again? Does he look elsewhere once his contract runs out? I could see either of those scenarios happening. Let's move on to our fantasy players in this game. I've got two that I'm really excited about, and one of them that I know Trey is pretty excited about for sure. And that's running back AJ Ouellette of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, $11,900 for him. He is the Riders' shiny new toy, the shiniest of their new toys, arguably, that they brought in this offseason. They're going to market the heck out of him, and I think he's going to be featured in Mark Mueller's offense here. Former running backs coach, I'm hoping likes to lean on his running back a little bit, especially to give Trevor Harris a little more time back there. He had 1,000 yards in just shy of in just 15 games last year, which is pretty darn good. And the Elks defense struggled against the run so much and lost some of those pieces I talked about earlier that I think AJ Ouellette could run all over the Elks in this game. The other pick I like on the other side of the ball, look, week 1 of fantasy is a little bit tricky because you don't have stats from this year to go off of. So I'm tempted to lean on connections that we've seen be effective in the past. And to me, that's Curly Gittens Jr. of the Edmonton Elks at $8,000. He had a rough year last year in Toronto. It didn't go great. He finished around 400 yards. He missed a bunch of time due to injury and wasn't that featured receiver from Chad Kelly because he spread the ball around. But the year before that, when Cloud Bethel Thompson was there, Curly Gittens Jr. was over 1,000-yard receiver. He was MBT's go-to guy. And I kind of have this mantra of, quarterback in a new place is going to lean on the receiver early on that he's most familiar with, which is Gittens Jr. So I think at $8,000, we see a bounce-back season from him here, well featured in that offense. And I'm willing to take a chance on that in week 1. Ouellette, Gittens Jr., anybody else you guys have, Trey?
Well, I got that Saskatchewan defense sitting right there up top too, because I just think, like Adam kind of mentioned earlier, Bethel Thompson still maybe learning a new team. Edmonton, we don't know, maybe a couple picks, maybe a fumble touchdown, something crazy to Edmonton can't have it all. They could be the first Canadian team to win the Grey Cup or Stanley Cup in how long? Their football team ain't winning this weekend. They can't have it all.
So I've got both of those picks that you guys had, AJ Ouellette. I've got the Riders defense just because they're the cheapest defense, namely. And the other reason is, I think they will get a couple of strips or they might get a fumble recovery or, Javon Leak might fumble the ball 3 times in the end zone. The Riders might recover 3 times. I mean, that happened in preseason. Why couldn't it happen in regular season? Anyways, the other player I do have, though, is Keon Schaefer-Baker of the Rough Riders. I was really disappointed I didn't get him in my fantasy draft this year. And the reason being is the guy is completely 100% healthy. He's been flying around the field. He had a great training camp. And he's going to have to lead now because he is one of the veteran offensive weapons on the Riders team for this team and how things are run. So there's no Lenius behind him anymore. It's Keon Schaefer-Baker's show. And I think he's going to have a breakout year again. So, yeah, I'll go with him.
I love how you said you could have had him in the I wish you could have had him in the fantasy draft. You literally could have kept him from last season and decided to forego 2 keepers. So I don't think you can. I don't think you can wish for that. You had your chance.
And then there's me. I was going to make a trade offer to Adam live on the show. So, because I have Keon Schaefer-Baker. So.
Oh, darn it. Now I just gave my cards away again. Thanks, Ryan.
Do we want to talk? I'll text you later.
Yeah, we'll talk. I'll get my person to talk to your Peterson.
Yeah.
So, Kyle Walters, do you want to get to phoning Jeremy O'Day? And I mean, Kyle Walters seems to be my guy this year. So.
Yeah, I have too many Rough Riders on my team, so definitely I'll talk to you after the show, man. I was telling the wife that, and she said, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, I don't know. But we'll talk about the betting here. Saskatchewan, again, I don't understand how they're the road dog here. I guess unless they're saying it's a coin flip on a neutral site and they're doing the traditional 3 points to the Edmonton Elks, being the 2.5 favorite there, over under 65.5. We'll do this real quick, and I have a couple other interesting prop bets to talk about after. So I'm gonna take Saskatchewan. Yeah, give me that green Kool-Aid on Saturday, and give me the over 46.5. I think Saskatchewan could easily put up high 20s, 30 points. I think Edmonton will put up points. I just don't know if they'll be able to keep up to AJ Ouellette and that Saskatchewan offense. Ryan, we'll go with you because I think we know who Adam's taking.
I have no idea who at Adam. Maybe Adam's just trying to fake us out with all the Riders gear here. No, I'm taking Saskatchewan here in this one as well. I'm surprised they're the underdogs. This is kind of going back to our previous conversation about maybe looking at last year a little bit, but honestly, I don't know what you're looking at last year for Edmonton really either if you're going off of that and setting the lines. I think Saskatchewan's going to win this one outright. I would take them outright. I'm going to take the over. I think 46.5 is low. I think these are going to be two exciting offenses this year, actually. And so, yeah, I'll take the over on that one. And then I also have a couple props I like kind of in line with, I think, the ones you're going to talk about. So I'll save those for later. Adam?
You know, I was thinking about actually taking Edmonton for only one reason, because Brett Wilder has a hurt hip right now, and he has been showing it. He has not looked good as a kicker. But I think Edmonton's going to mess up too many times, take too many penalties, and take too many mistakes, and the Riders are going to win on defense instead of offense this week. That being said, I think they're going to have some good offense as well, but they'll just capitalize on Edmonton mistakes and win this game. So go with Riders winning outright on the 2.5. And I'm going to go with the under on this one here, because I don't think there's going to be a lot of mistakes in this game on both sides of the football. So, but I think Edmonton's going to make more.
All right, just go for 2 if your kicker's hurt, right? That's all, and then they'll get the points up higher. Here's a couple props I have from FanDuel. Oh, I just exited out of my FanDuel, so good thing I have it written somewhere else. But AJ Ouellette 2+ touchdowns at plus 360. I'm going to crush that one. I think he's going to be the go-to guy down near the red zone, right? And you got to think that he's going to see a heavy doses of the ball. I know Toronto, when he was there, tried to give it to Harris in some of those situations, but I think the Riders are going to continue giving it to Ouellette. What do you guys think about that one?
Adam, you want to go first?
Sure, why not? Actually, I'll be honest with you, at short yardage, I don't think AJ Ouellette will get the ball much. I think they're going to go and put in Bernard Hudson, the big French-Canadian, and they're going to pound the ball with him a lot this year. It seemed like they were organizing things to do it earlier in the season. They're practicing that a little bit in preseason. And Bertrand Gautran, is it? I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce the name. It's worth a hoot. I will look it up here shortly and tell you the name. But I don't see him getting a lot of if the ball gets down to like 1st and goal, it'll be the backup pounding the ball. I don't see them risking Ouellette. So I won't take that.
I could go either way on this one. If this is a bet I'm making, I'm betting real low, like, maybe not even a full ant farm on this one. Maybe just like half the ant colony. I don't know. With the CFL, I think it's tough to bank on the 2 touchdowns, especially with the backup quarterbacks vulturing so many touchdowns at the goal line more so, I think, than you see in other weeks. I'd maybe not go that direction personally on this one. But I can see where you're coming from also.
Yeah. And then Ouellette over 75.5 is also what I have at minus 114. I think that's a lock. You'll agree. And one other one I'm going to throw there, FanDuel can get you to has alternative lines. They have everything from hopefully I'm not cutting out. They have everything from picking plus Saskatchewan. Give me minus 6.5 for Saskatchewan. They'll win by a full touchdown at plus 260. Am I cutting out?
You're cutting out a little bit there, but I think we got it. Sask minus 6.5 at plus 260 was your pick there. Yeah, I could agree with that pick. I think I would go on board with that one, Adam.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more of a 3-4 point game. It could be a last second again screw up in Edmonton's special teams. Nah, I'm being a little conservative tonight. No, I don't think they're going to beat them by 6.5.
Okay, that's all I have. Is there any other ones you wanted to throw in quick, Ryan?
Interesting ones on the Edmonton side for me were Curly Gittens Jr. at 60.5 receiving yards, Eugene Lewis at 67.5. I can see either of those ones going over. If MBT has a good day, I think either of those receivers could break loose there. But
just so you guys know,
I like one, but not like I would take one. I don't know which one I would take. I don't know if I take both. I would take one.
I feel like Lewis is the guy that's going to get one big reception that could put him over potentially, and Gittens Jr. is going to get a lot of targets and short passes, but that might not get you over the total. So,
and to be honest, I still see Dylan Mitchell hitting over 100 in this game.
Don't forget Adam's Dylan Mitchell pick. Did you flip the coin for the winner in this game, Adam?
No, I did not. So let's see who we got for a winner in this one. The coin has never led me long. Nor right. It's heads. It says the Edmonton Elk will win this game.
All right.
Well,
I will mention as well, we talked about a couple of the player picks here. I will likely throw more player pick thoughts out in the betting channel on the Discord throughout the week as well. Because for me, that's the fun one. I love player props a lot more than I love the game totals because it closely aligns with fantasy, to be honest. All right, final game of the week here. We'll keep trekking along. BC Lions visiting the Toronto Argonauts on Sunday, June 9th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. What have we got for storylines here, Adam?
Well, first, let's start with the BC Lions. I mean, they're talked about being probably one of the favorites maybe to make the Grey Cup. Not only they're going to be hosting it, but they're figuring they may even make it. Of course, they got Vernon Adams Jr., who had a great year last year, but he is missing some pieces from last year. Of course, Lucky Whitehead was not re-signed by, anybody, which was actually kind of amazing. Do you guys actually think that Lucky Whitehead wouldn't sign with anybody in the end?
Yeah, I'm still shocked he's not signed yet.
Yeah, there's got to be a team that wants him somewhere.
It's weird. He's one of those fringe players. Like he's kind of like Janarian Grant, right? You kind of have to pay for the specialty, but he only fits in certain situations, right? Like, so I am and I'm not. It's kind of a weird mix.
Yeah. Then you couple that though with BC not having Keon Hatcher till October-ish. Then you've also got no Dominic Rhymes, who asked for his release and then went to Ottawa. You're down a lot of receivers suddenly in BC. I mean, yes, you still have Alexander Hollins, who kind of had his breakout year last year. But other than that, there's a few other pieces, but not a whole lot of guys that Vernon Adams really worked with. Who do you think is going to be the top receiver at the end of the year for the BC Lions?
I mean, Alexander Hollins was my number one receiver in the CFL for this year, so that would be my clear answer there. 1,100 yards in his basically his first full season with the team. I think if we want to talk about teams or players with the sky's the limit, I think it's him, especially with all those other pieces gone.
Trey, anybody else?
No, I agree with what you guys said. Okay. So I'm looking at prop bets right now. I listened.
My pick actually for BC, he may not be the number one. You might be right on the Alexander Hollins, Ryan. But a close second is going to be a Canadian. I think Justin McInnes is really going to have a big breakout season. Again, Ryan really bugged me. I knew he was going to pick Hollins, and then I figured maybe he'll leave McInnes for me, and no, he didn't do that either because he's mean like that. So, I think Justin McInnes, he had some potential in Saskatchewan. It's just that they had so many Canadians at that time. I bet you if they could keep him, if they could get him now and keep him, they would have done it. Saskatchewan misses him. BC loves him, and I think he's had a really good training camp from what I heard. I think he could be the number 1A or 1B kind of guy with Hollins. I think Hollins still probably in the end will win the number one spot for BC. Over on the Toronto football side, of course, this was a 16-2 season. Last year, they had one of the best regular seasons almost ever in the league, only to get dumped by Montreal. I mean, they had Chad Kelly under center. They had Curly Gittens Jr. in the receiving core, who didn't do much, but he was still there. AJ Ouellette was a monster in the backfield. Of course, they had a Darius Pickett, Jamal Peters, Corey Mace. And by the way, all those players aren't in Toronto gear this year. They're all on different teams. That's a lot of pieces missing on the Toronto team. If you're the BC Lions, this should be a pretty easy game, you'd think, for the BC Lions. Is there anything that makes you worried about when you're playing the Toronto Argonauts?
I don't know. I feel like they've lost a lot of their hype. You know what I mean? I don't think they're going 15-3 this year by any means. And I think losing Olette and Kelly's, we don't know about that. I mean, I don't think Cameron Dukes is going to be a huge drop off, but even still, I think if Kelly was starting, I think this team would be a little bit this year. So I don't know. I think their offense lost a little bit. Their defense definitely lost a little bit with a couple of guys subtractions there. So I think they'll be a fine team, but they're not going to be the powerhouse where the backups almost beat the Bombers late in the season like last year, right?
I'll argue that the hype was never even there last season when they went 16-2, right? All season long, people aren't hyping this team up as these beasts, and everybody was waiting for their downfall, and it never came it came. Their 16-2 season, I would chalk up to their depth across the board. So yeah, they lost a lot of pieces, but they've got a lot of pieces left, and they brought in some new pieces. So I don't see this team taking a huge step back. We have to address the news that came out today, I think, a little bit when talking about this, that Chad Kelly's court case was settled outside of court. I know you were talking about in the Discord earlier today, Trey, that you think this means Chad Kelly is going to play this year for the Toronto Argonauts. He's still currently suspended the 9 games by the CFL. Will he appeal that next? That remains the question. I'm hoping that Cameron Dukes still gets to start for fantasy purposes as he was second quarterback pick. But I think he's still going to be under center for now. And I don't know, even if it's settled outside of court, I don't know if the CFL is going to change his suspension. Quick thoughts on that?
They're not going to change it from 9, but my point was we're a society of right now. So, let's say the court ruling got fixed in 8 weeks from now, then maybe they would be like, no, we're going to keep it for a few more weeks to let it bypass. But I think we got, 3 months for it to go. It's settled. If he gets through all the other conditions, he doesn't pull a Johnny Manziel and deliberately does everything against his conditions, I think he'll be back as soon as possible. Maybe if Cameron Dukes over exceeds, maybe Kelly will hold the clipboard and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be shorter. By any means, the FM fan says he doesn't think he's going to appeal. I don't think he's going to appeal either, because I think that would just show a lack of contrition to some point, and unless the PA suggests him to. So I think 9 games is it. I don't think it'll be the whole season. And yeah, we'll see if he starts, depending on, I think, Cameron Dukes. Adam?
Yeah, I look at this, and I hate to say it, but Chad Kelly will be back in week 6 of the CFL. Ooh. Here's my boldest pick of it all. Chad Kelly's going to go quietly do his is it mental training or mental kind of mental stuff that he needs to do for part of the conditions. He's going to go and race that and accelerate it as fast as he can, because Toronto's probably going to lose a few games here with Duke's gone. At week 5, he's going to go and say, I did the training. I've got all the training complete. I'm going to go and appeal this now. And then the commissioner's got a real funny thing on his face, because he's done the stuff that he's supposed to do. The CFLPA is going to say he's done all of the stuff that he's supposed to do. This case has been settled. Everything's good to go. And the commissioner is going to go, okay. And at that time, they're going to hope in a month that this is all behind him. Nobody's heard a word about this. And Toronto's going to get him back. Me, my opinion, but I hope I'm wrong. I think he should sit till week 9 and then some. But unfortunately, I could also see that happening too. And by the time they're at week 6 and they say, okay, now we're going to appeal, well, the heck with it. We won't even bother putting up a fight. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I could see any of these scenarios playing out. Before we move into our fantasy players to watch, a question in the chat from our friends at the Alternative Football Network. Hey, fellas, for us Americans, what's the best way to watch the week 1 action? CFL Plus on CFL.ca. I believe as all of the games internationally. I think you got to sign up with your email address to watch there. And you can watch them just like we did with some of the preseason games this year. And I think this year they actually added the on-demand option, so you can watch the game after the fact. Last year it could only be live, but yeah, you can watch them there. And then I think there is a package. If they're not there, it's on CBS SN, I think, in the
right.
States.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Three
so
of the
one,
week
they're
one
gonna-
games.
Week 1, they have every game this week. So, sorry, one game they're missing. They're missing the Calgary Hamilton game.
But yeah, they're all free on CFL Plus, aren't they?
Not sure if they're there if they're not on CBS. No, they might be.
They're on the
check both of those
CBS
spots. One of them will have it for sure.
Yeah, the CBS Sports Network will have the TSN feed. The other one might be the Stadium feed. I'm not sure what CFL Plus will do.
I think it's the TSN feed. I think
that was just
Stadium was preseason only. Yeah.
I'm
all right, fantasy. I think it is just it was just preseason with the Stadium feed, which is too bad. I love the Stadium feeds; they're great. All right, fantasy players. This game has a lot of them I would consider, honestly. I could make an argument for almost every BC receiver in this game because we talked about 2 of them. 2 others we didn't talk about, Aberhart and Fulgham, are $2,500 starting receivers on a pass-heavy team. But Alexander Hollins catches my eye if you can afford him. $12,800, 1,173 yards, 9 touchdowns in his first full season, 5 weeks over 20 points. The only downside to him last year was he was boom or bust. There were weeks where he'd put up 25. There were weeks he'd put up 5 points. But that was mostly because he was swapping big games with Keon Hatcher, and there's no Keon Hatcher for most of this season. And they've lost a lot of their receivers. I think he is the guy for BC's receiving corps, and I think he's got that connection with Vernon Adams, who is also on the list at $14,000. He's my top quarterback pick. He's honestly my strongest captain consideration for this week if I can fit him in there. Averaged 19.8 fantasy points a game last year, first among all current starting quarterbacks, 9 weeks over 20 points, and the Argos defense had a lot of turnover this offseason, so I think there is room to exploit them there. I also like the quarterback on the other side of the ball. I like Cameron Dukes. I'm high on Dukes. There's a reason I picked both these guys in our fantasy draft last year, and Cameron Dukes is a mobile quarterback, and that's what I like to see for fantasy. 2 starts last year, 22.6, 15.7 fantasy points for him in those 2 games. That's not too bad. And this year in 2 games in the preseason, 5 carries, 42 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown from Cameron Dukes. So we'll get into maybe his passing totals here when we get to the betting portion of this game. But I think there's a real mobile rushing aspect to Dukes that I like. And he's a huge bargain over these other quarterbacks at $5,000 cheaper than Vernon Adams. So like both quarterbacks, like Alexander Hollins, and I like other options in this game potentially as well. What do you guys think? Anybody I didn't mention here, Adam?
Yep. I've got one for Toronto, actually. It is a flex play, and I'm not sure if I should be using it as a flex play or just as a regular receiver. I've got Kevin Mytel on the Toronto Argonauts, a $2,500 pick. He had some big chemistry there with Cameron Dukes against Hamilton last week. I thought he looked real good for a 4th-round pick in the CFL draft. I think that he could go somewhere in this league, and he might not be very cheap for very long also. So, hey, if you need a cheap pick, there's your one for you, Kevin Mytel. On my roster, I do have Vernon Adams Jr., the king of mobile quarterbacks, and also I've got Alexander Hollins. So, yeah, I'm thinking BC's going to do very well, but maybe Mytel might do some stuff too.
Yeah, he did catch my eye. I wasn't sure where he was going to fit in the depth chart, so wanted to wait to see that for sure. Trey, anybody else we haven't mentioned here in BC, Toronto for you?
No, I got VA, and I've been back and forth between Hollins and McInnes, but I guess that's about it.
Right on. Question in the chat, who's the starting running back in Toronto? I believe that is Kadeem Carey. Although I think there's a situation where they do split some carries there potentially as well with Adam Boye, maybe Deanna McMahon in there, which would make me cautious to take any of them early in the season. Betting picks. What you got for us, Trey?
My internet's cutting out for 1 second, so just give me a second to hopefully lags back. We good? Can you hear me?
We're good. Yeah. Betting picks. BC.
Okay, we're good. Okay, Adam leaving. Yeah, there we go. Give me. We got -5.5. Man, am I really gonna take? Oh no, I didn't. I took Calgary. I was gonna say, am I really gonna take 3 straight road teams? No, Adam's gonna be the one that takes 4. But this will be my third of the week. Give me BC -5.5. I just don't think Toronto's got any of that juice left. And over under 46.5. Give me the over again. I think both these teams will score, but BC will be up by more than 6 points. Adam?
Yeah, you know what? I think I'm just psyching you out with the hat. I'm going to go with the BC Lions. Honestly, no. I just think, you know what? The Lions are the better team here. Toronto, really, I mean, their baseball team sucks. Their hockey team sucks. I think this year their football team might just do that a little bit too sometimes, especially playing a tough West Division opponent like the Lions right off the bat. Ain't going to be pretty. And you know what? BC's a well-oiled machine. Give me the Lions. And I'm going to go with the under on this one here. BC might get 40, and to be honest with you, Toronto might not get much.
Man, I was going to say, before Ryan gives his 4 straight road teams, and I'm the one that doesn't believe in home field. I love it. I knew it was going to happen. But interesting, a lot of road teams, I think, are just happen to be the favorite this week. Ryan, who do you got?
I feel like that happened early last season too, where the road teams won a lot of the games there. So maybe Trey has something correct in his theory. I don't know. There we go. This is the one time this season I'll give that to you. The line is interesting. I mean, I do think BC is a better home team, and they don't play great on the road a lot of times. I saw the comment earlier. VA did throw 6 picks against the Argos in Toronto last year. But I do think as of right now, they're a team I'm a little more confident in. So I'll take BC as well, though I could see Toronto covering. I'll take the Lions to reach the -5.5. And I'll take the over because I think this could be an offensive showdown. And I think Adam saying Toronto might not get more than 6 points is absolute garbage. Get out of here with that, Adam.
Okay, well, let's see what the coin says as well here while I'm thinking about it.
Oh, here. And you got to do the first game, too, when you have a second.
Yeah, I got to do the first game also. Give me 1 second here. Got a good flip it over like that, and it is heads. So I guess that means the Toronto Argonauts are going to win this game. That coin there is, that coin's something. Watch it be 4-0 this week. While I'm thinking about it, I'll flip also right now for the Winnipeg-Montreal game, first game of the week. And it is a heads. Home team is going to win that one. They'll be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. See, the coin believes in home field advantage. We're going to rename the coin.
The coin took all 4 home teams.
I'm going to laugh when the coin is 4-0 and Adam's 0-4 after this.
Something's got to give here. That's all I got to say. You know what? The coin. We're going to call the coin Mike from now on.
Mike will be back throughout the season as well. He just had a conflict tonight, by the way. But so we'll get his picks plus the coins in the upcoming weeks. What do you got for player? You got a couple player props here too, Trey?
Yeah, we're going to look at Cameron Dukes, passing yards 235.5. I'm going to take the over on that, even though I don't think they're going to win. But I kind of, again, I don't think 6 points. I could see this 30-20 or 35-25. They'll move the ball, they'll get some points. Just BC will do that much better. What do you guys? And I hope, and for Ryan's fantasy points here, hopefully Dukes can get some passing yards. So Ryan, you're going to go with the over there for your fantasy?
I'm going to go with the under on the passing yards. I see a scenario where Dukes is at like 220, but then like 40 or 50 rushing yards on the day, and that helps produce them some offense. But I'm not going to take him go over on the passing quite yet.
And I'm assuming, Adam, you're taking the under because it's hard to go over 250 and only get 6 points.
Never know. Could happen. I mean, lots of fumbles is all I'll think of.
That's fair.
No, honestly, I'm going with the under 2.
And then real quick, we'll do VA. His is a lot higher, 294.5. Again, I'm going to have the over. I could see it. Even if he throws 6 picks, I think he'll win this game and throw 350 in this one. Ryan, do you think VA will go over 300?
I think so. Just looking at last year, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different games over 300 yards last year for VA, and he came awfully close in a couple more. Their pass team, I think he's going to hit it.
Adam?
No doubt. He'll hit it this game.
Okay. And then real quick, I got BC minus 3.5 at the halftime. I'm going to say yes over that, or big that. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
All 3 yeses. Yeah, do we want to – I think Richard has a question. Which of you guys is coming out for the Grey Cup? Oh, none of us. Never mind. Not this year.
Probably not, no.
I mean, unlikely, but
Yeah.
never say never, but I'll never say never to a Grey Cup, but probably not.
I mean, Richard, if you got an extra ticket and a couch to sleep on, then maybe. But
I mean, it worked last time that Trey got a ticket to the Grey Cup.
I know you're not even. I'm not even gonna be able to give you a ticket, and you're gonna knock on my door. Grey Cup Saturday next year.
Well, if the Riders are in the Grey Cup, then I'm definitely doing it.
That's fair.
I'll even wear shorts that day.
Oh, I'm wearing. Actually, the one in BC would be the one to wear shorts.
Yeah.
I did when I went last time. We want to talk about halftime real quick? We have 2 seconds for that. I know we want to wrap up.
Sure, yeah, we can talk about that.
What are your guys' thoughts on Grey Cup halftime?
I think they knocked it out of the park with the Grey Cup halftime show. I'm pumped for the Joe Bros, the Jonas Brothers, honestly. I think it's a great fit. I've seen a lot of talk all over social media about how it's not a great fit. Here's the news flash for you. If you were going to go to the game or watch the game anyways, you are not in the target market for the halftime show. That is not meant for you. It's meant to try to bring new people to watch. I saw chatter, I forget from who today, that pointed out that they really started advertising Grey Cup tickets like the day after the announcement, which is smart because everybody saw, I can go see the Jonas Brothers play. How do I do that? Okay, I go buy tickets here. Yeah. I think it's a good fit in a different genre of music that's going to bring in, not necessarily the crowd that's going to be sitting there at the stadium. Anyways,
they had the Joe Bros do their that video of them telling you to buy tickets to come see them at Grey Cup. That you know what I mean? So I like that. And yeah, I agree. It's not for the people who watch every year. You know what I mean? I think this year and last 2, I've been very impressed. And say what you want about country. I thought that was a pretty big get. I think last year in Green Day was a pretty big get, and now Joe Bros is as close as you're going to get for a Taylor Swift level kind of group. You know what I mean? Here in the CFL. So I'm and it's great that they announced it now. Not a week before, 2 weeks before, like they kind of did last year. And BC's too killing 50 Cent. You know what I mean? Like you're getting all over the way, all different ranges here. I love it, Adam. I can see Adam. He's going to be front row singing the year 3000 and everything, man. I could just see it.
I forgot to include Jonas Brothers references in my intro this week, and now I'm sad. Dang it.
I mean, I was going to go and say it's not the Jonas Brothers. What is this? But you know what? The Jonas Brothers will do a great job. They're after the younger demographic. That's exactly what BC's going to. You know what? I heard people complaining in Saskatchewan about 50 Cent going to BC. I mean, come on. That's a perfect market for them. They're feeding up to the market that BC would have that would sell tickets for things. That's a perfect pickup. And I'm not talking about 50 Cent. I'm talking about the Jonas Brothers. That's exactly the kind of crew that they need out there. It's a perfect fit. You know what? I really hope the BC sells 60,000 plus tickets to the Grey Cup and packs that BC Place Stadium, just like they're doing for Game 1 with 50 Cent there. I'm really excited for BC, and I think this is going to be a great cup.
The only thing I hate is now next year's Winnipeg is going to be terrible because who wants to come to Winnipeg? So it's going to be hard to top the Jonas Brothers next year.
Captain Tractor when the Riders were winning the Grey Cup there.
Yeah. And I'm tired of hearing people like, oh, let's get Rush or let's get that. Like, they always talk about these Canadian bands that aren't even really active. And what grade is that going to do?
Yeah.
I can wholeheartedly get Canadian but obviously guys like Drake, Bieber's done it. Drake probably doesn't want to do it because he's going to get the curse everywhere. So, I don't know. I think this is perfect.
Aussie.
Yeah, and I said them announcing it real early was nice because 2 years ago, I think it was wasn't it in Saskatchewan a couple of years ago where they announced it really late, and then you started getting into talks of like, okay, so basically everybody canceled on them, and this mishmash of country artists is all they could get at the last minute or something like that. Like, no, they planned this well in advance. Amar Doman and his team in BC are the class of the league right now in drawing fans into the stands, and knocked it out of the park with 50 Cent. They're going to have 50,000 people in the stands next week for their home opener, which is nuts. And they're going to do it again and sell it the Grey Cup, I imagine, here as well. So great job. Kudos to BC and their team there. And I'm excited for the halftime show, maybe more than most years, to be honest.
And also, if Winnipeg doesn't have Neil Young next year, what are you really doing?
Oh, man. And we need some BTO.
Could be Fozzie.
We need BTO, man.
Could be Fozzie. I mean, that's
I mean, if it's going to be Winnipeg, bring back the Magic Act they did at halftime one game last year. That was so good.
Yeah, that if it's going to be Winnipeg, they're going to do the Bomber House Band, man. And I'm just going to – I don't smoke anymore, but I'm going to go have a dart at halftime, honestly. Steve Martin and his banjo would be cool. That would be unreal. I would pay to watch that. Thanks, Richard.
Steel
All right,
Cage,
let's get into
Buzzin' Boomer versus Peter.
Oh yeah, that's the pre-show for sure, or during the weather delay. We had one of those in the preseason game. I left at halftime in the preseason game, by the way. That was the most. We didn't talk about preseason. We're not going to get into it. That was the most boring half of football I have ever watched live. Was that Winnipeg Calgary preseason game there? So much that the weather delay hit, and I'm like, I don't want to stick around all night for this.
Oh, I was watching
Adam's face is frozen.
So that was my first half, watching horse racing on my phone, and I was wrestling my kids in the upper deck there. So
over under on weather delays.
On a side note, every time you guys well, it's true because I mean, every time you go and you guys host the first game of the season, it's a weather delay.
Yeah,
and we've had a lot of rain, and we've had a little bit of lightning. We've had a lot of rain the last few weeks. Every other day, my kid's baseball's canceled. So, I don't know.
I'm going to say at least 5 weather delays this year, Richard.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot. It all depends on the thunder. I don't feel like we've been hot enough for a lot of thunder, but we've definitely gotten the rain that potentially could have the lightning. So,
all right, let's get into wrapping things up here today. Week 1 preview in the books. We're officially back with our regular season content. That's not the screen I wanted. Is it this one? That's the one. So let's get into wrapping it up. We did Tuesday night tonight. Programming note, we are moving to Wednesday nights going forward from here. Main reason for that, we'll have more accurate, we'll be able to compile the fantasy info more by then. We'll have more accurate betting odds for all of the games, although we had quite a few tonight, so that was nice. And we'll have some injury reports and stuff to help give you more info. More accurate info here on the show, but we'll do the same things. We'll do storylines, players to watch, betting picks for each of the games next week. In the meantime, follow us on social media at CF Countdown Pod on X or Twitter or whatever you prefer to call it. Hoping to be a little bit more active on there this season besides posting the episodes. Check out there for some more fantasy picks from myself, other content we might have along the way there as well. On facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod is where you can find links to the episodes. Also, I'm at Cooper Trooper 42 on Twitter. Mike couldn't be here tonight, but he's at Mike Garrell if you want to follow him there as well. Trey, you're next on the list here. What else you all got going on these days, and where can people find it?
I got absolutely nothing going on, and you can find that all at Trey Harness link on the X. I got too much going on. If you want to see USC, football, horse racing, both kinds, check me out there. And yeah, me too. I'm going to try to be more active in the Discord this year, especially with some bonus content, maybe some of those prop bets, especially if they pop up on other sites that are actually available outside of Ontario. So we'll take a look at that on there. I don't have any awesome farm picks. That's the guy above me here. Adam, what can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Adam Stewart 1. Usually I'll have a truck picture, a tractor picture, a combine picture, a spraying picture. Right now it's spraying season, so I'll probably have a few of those soon. Should be a good year so far. Been nice rains, been lots of moisture, so crop is growing like it's growing as fast as the Bombers is for age. So, pretty good. Nevertheless, Adam Stewart 1 over on the Twitter. And probably the big thing I'm always on is Instagram. So, follow me there too, at Farmer in Sask.
Right on. We talked about it already, but the Discord reminder links in the episode description if you want to join us there to access all of these things we just talked about, being a little more active in the Discord community this season. Live game chats for each of the games as well. So if you're watching the game, whether it's you're at the stadium watching on TSN, watching on CFL Plus for our American friends, or CBSSN, we have live game chats going on there. You can chat along with us as we're watching the games and check that out there as well. Whatever podcast platform you're watching or listening on, we really appreciate if you do all the fun things such as like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share the show with your friends, help us grow the show, especially here at the start of the new season. People getting ramped up on CFL content helps us out a lot if you retweet, share the links to the shows to get more people tuning in. We always appreciate that. And on behalf of Adam and Trey, I'm Ryan saying thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.